Alright, let's begin with a story that will tug at your heartstrings and leave you thinking long after it ends. Are you ready? Before we dive in, I want to ask you something important. Have you ever felt like life was hiding secrets from you? Things you thought you knew but didn't? If so, where are you watching this from right now? Comment below and tell me your location. It helps us understand how far this message is reaching. And hey, if you're enjoying the start, don't forget to hit that like button. You're amazing for being here, and this story is exactly for you. Now imagine this, a man who has everything. He's wealthy, successful, powerful, but deep down he feels empty. He can't shake off the feeling that something vital is missing in his life. Money doesn't fill the void, and neither does success. What could it be? Could it be family, love, or maybe regret? Let's find out together. Let's dive in. The undercover CEO, everyone knew as Nolan Hayes, had always been driven by ambition. From the moment he took over his father's small car dealership business, he turned it into a nationwide empire called Velocity Motors. People admired him for his sharp mind and relentless work ethic. But what they didn't know was that behind closed doors, Nolan carried a heavy burden, a strained relationship with his father, Walter. Years ago, when Nolan was just starting out, Walter had tried to teach him the value of hard work and humility. But young Nolan dismissed those lessons, believing speed and innovation were all that mattered. Their arguments grew louder, harsher, until one day, Walter walked away saying, "You'll never understand what truly matters until it's too late." Those words haunted Nolan every single night. Fast forward to today, Nolan decided to go undercover at one of his service centers, not because he doubted his employees' integrity, but because he wanted to see firsthand how things were running. Dressed in worn-out jeans and a plain blue hoodie, he walked into the bustling garage. The air smelled of oil and rubber, and mechanics hustled around cars with tools in hand. As he observed quietly, pretending to be an intern learning the ropes, his eyes landed on an older man working diligently under a car hoist. There was something familiar about him, the way he moved, the way his hands expertly handled the wrenches. Nolan froze. His breath caught in his throat. That face, those eyes, it couldn't be. Could it really be Walter? Nolan's heart raced. He hadn't seen his father in nearly 10 years. Not since their last fight. His mind swirled with questions. Why would Walter be here? Did he need money? Was he struggling? Anger mixed with guilt as Nolan realized he'd never once checked on his father after their fallout. Taking a shaky step forward, Nolan cleared his throat. Excuse me," he said softly, trying not to draw attention. The older man slid out from underneath the car, grease smudged across his forehead. For a split second, their eyes met, and time stood still. "Can I help you?" Walter asked, his voice calm yet distant. Nolan swallowed hard. "Dad, it's me." "Nolan." Walter blinked, then looked away, focusing back on the car. "I don't know anyone named Nolan," he muttered, though his trembling hands betrayed him. Nolan knelt beside him, his voice cracking. "Dad, please. I know I messed up. I shouldn't have let things get this bad between us. But why are you here? Why didn't you reach out?" Walter sighed deeply, setting the wrench down. "Because I didn't think you cared anymore," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "After everything we went through, I figured you were better off without me. So I came here to start over. To make ends meet without relying on anyone, not even my own son." Tears welled up in Nolan's eyes. "That's not true, Dad. I've missed you every day. I didn't know how to fix things." Walter finally turned to look at him, sadness etched into his weathered face. "Fixing things takes more than words, Nolan. It takes action. And honestly, I wasn't sure if you'd changed or if you were still the same stubborn kid who only cared about winning." The weight of those words hit Nolan like a punch to the gut. He glanced around the busy garage, realizing how much of his life he'd wasted chasing success while ignoring the people who mattered most. "Dad," he began, his voice thick with emotion, "I'm sorry. Truly sorry. I don't expect you to forgive me overnight, but I want to try. I want to rebuild what we lost." For a moment, Walter said nothing. Then slowly he nodded. "We'll see, Nolan. We'll see." Now pause for a second. Think about this situation. How would you feel if you found someone you loved working in silence, carrying pain you caused? Would you have the courage to apologize? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And remember, wherever you're watching from, your perspective matters. Keep those likes coming. It motivates us to share more stories like this. Back to the story. Over the next few weeks, Nolan made it a point to visit the service center regularly. At first, Walter kept his distance, speaking only when necessary. But gradually, their conversations grew longer, deeper. They talked about old memories, the good times before bitterness crept in, and shared laughter again. One evening, as they sat together in the break room sipping coffee, Walter leaned back in his chair and said, "You know, Nolan, I used to dream of handing the business to you. I thought you'd carry on the legacy with pride. Instead, I watched you turn it into something unrecognizable." Nolan frowned. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Walter explained, "you forgot the soul of the company, the values we built it on. Hard work, honesty, treating people right. Somewhere along the way, you lost sight of that." Those words stung, but Nolan knew they were true. He spent the following months making changes, not just in the company but within himself. He reconnected with his employees, listened to their concerns, and implemented programs to support their families. Most importantly, he invited Walter back to the boardroom, giving him a seat at the table once again. It wasn't easy. Rebuilding trust took time, effort, and countless apologies. But slowly, Nolan and Walter healed their fractured bond. Together, they reminded the world what Velocity Motors stood for, not just selling cars but building relationships. Here's another question for you. Do you believe it's ever too late to repair a broken relationship? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to tell me where you're tuning in from. It means a lot to us. And hey, give this video a thumbs up if you're finding it emotional and relatable. You're incredible for sticking around. Months later, during a company-wide meeting, Nolan stood before his employees with Walter by his side. "Today," he announced, "marks a new chapter for Velocity Motors. My father taught me that success isn't measured by profits or accolades. It's measured by the impact we have on others. Moving forward, we'll honor that lesson by putting people first. Always." The room erupted in applause, and Walter smiled, a genuine, proud smile. As they left the stage together, Nolan placed a hand on his father's shoulder. "Thank you, Dad, for everything." Walter chuckled softly. "Just promise me one thing, son. Anything. Don't wait another decade to talk to me next time." They both laughed, the sound echoing through the halls like music. So what's the moral of the story? It's simple. Success without connection is hollow. True fulfillment comes from nurturing relationships, embracing humility, and valuing the people who shape our lives. Don't let pride or fear keep you from reaching out to someone you care about, because tomorrow isn't guaranteed, and regrets weigh heavier than any apology ever could. Before you go, take a moment to reflect. Who in your life deserves a second chance, or maybe just a heartfelt conversation? Let's spread kindness, understanding, and love. And if this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, stay inspired. That's the story, friends. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a pleasure sharing it with you all. Don't forget to comment below and let me know where you're watching from. It's always fun to see the global reach of these stories. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button for more amazing stories, tips, and tricks. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.